Okay, all right. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We were having a little bit of technology. Um,
Challenges, right?
we was figuring it all out. One thing about this current situation is that we will learn to utilize technology way more efficiently than we have ever done before. Um, Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for coming in. As we go along, as always, please, please, please leave your comments so that we can ensure we are addressing some of the things that are important to you. So that we get the snafus out of the way. My mom, Grace Supporter, she's there saying she's there with her popcorn. Thank you for joining us. Other people are joining in as well. I just want to take a moment to again introduce myself. Tiffany L. Hollinger, also known as AskTiffanyH. And not only a lot of people know me as a realtor, but in addition to that, I am also a financial advisor. Been in the financial services industry for over 22 years before coming back home to Cleveland and adding additional real estate services to my portfolio. However, these are some interesting times, and I would have been remiss if I did not come out and provide information and tips and tools to be able to navigate as I would with any of my clients. And kind of one thing led to another, and here we are. So today I am having with us a guest, Chad Kusner, who is with Credit Repair Resources. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Tiffany.
And he's going to talk to us today about how this COVID-19 and things are going as it relates to our credit impact, some of the top tips and tools that you'll need to be able to kind of weather this storm. Because things happen, and the great thing about financial planning, as I always say, it's not about me helping people make money. It's about helping people to maximize and leverage what they have. And this is a critical piece, is how to weather the unforeseen and how to weather unforeseen circumstances and situations. And so I'm happy to have Chad here with us. Before, Chad, if you would give me a moment, I like to kind of always do a recap of the previous session. So if someone is tuning in for the first time and didn't see the other ones and didn't have a chance, I just love an opportunity to kind of do a recap. And so with that being said, the first information session we talked about is, at this time, please take a moment to create a budget. Even if you don't say, okay, all of the things that you have coming in, meaning the income element of the budget, at least take a moment to please write down all of your expenses. This gives you an opportunity to see where you are, give you a snapshot of where you stand today, so that you'll be able to be a little bit more agile to create a plan, a process, or whatever moving forward. Second is take this moment and call the credit bureaus, and Chad, you can speak to this a little bit later as well, and call Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, and say, hey, this moment, it would be nice if you could stop reporting to my credit report, and because there's a lot of things going on in that nature as well. 3, call all of your creditors, and don't tell them I want a forbearance or whatever, but ask them what tools and resources they have available to be able to help you right now. I have a lot of people who've been calling me offline and saying that, yes, they have done that. And every creditor has a different tool. I'm gonna stop for 1 second. A lot of people have also been saying that they've been calling their mortgage company, and their mortgage company have been saying things about forbearance where it's not economically beneficial for them. However, they also are saying, and this is the case, that this is pre-COVID, so there's no federal mandates at this moment. There's no universal mandate at this very moment of what and how to address. So each lender has their own process that they're working through, and they're waiting for some required guidelines from a federal level as to what they are going to implement to help. And so while they may not have anything that's beneficial today, it's April 6th, it's the beginning of the month. Still stay tuned, and if you need that resource, follow back up with them, give them a week, because all of this stuff is ebb and flow. It's moving and changing at light speed. I mean, even to that point, when we did information session number 2, please prepare your tax return so that you would be eligible to receive the stimulus check. If not 2019, make sure that 2018 was done. And a lot of things were moving about people who were older and getting Social Security, and maybe they're not filing their taxes, or they're going to be left out. And just like that, they've made some tweaks to it. And some of those tweaks are people who are receiving Social Security and have not filed their income taxes are going to be able to receive their stimulus dollars as well. Now, again, there are some updates on those, and we'll come back and circle through, but I just want to make sure that we did a recap of those items. And in information session number 3, we talked about save, save, save. Okay, there's going to be a moment where the tide has changed and we get through this. And if you're still working, okay, thank goodness, and the income levels are still the same, utilize the tools and the resources out there and still save. Okay, it is nothing more important and more critical right now is to position yourself. I see some people, oh, I'm saving money and now I'm also fixing on my house. No, stop. Savings mean save, meaning you sit it there and do nothing with it until there's a time that you can maximize that. And so just a really quick recap about the previous information sessions. And then today we're going to go into information session number 4, talking about your credit. So Chad, please don't let me fumble through introducing you, except for please know people who are sharing or here with me today. I have worked with Chad before. I met him in the real estate industry. He has helped a lot of my clients. And so he is very well regarded and trusted. This is not some multi-level marketing situation about how you can fix your credit. So don't worry about it, Chad. I'm going to say that for you.
Thank you.
This is really an entity that's out here providing valuable resources. So again, Chad, if you can do us a favor, do me a favor and introduce yourself, the mic is yours.
Well, Tiffany, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you having me on today. I have been in the mortgage, real estate, and credit industry now since 2000. So it's about 20 years for me. I spent about 10 years originating as a loan officer. And now we're in our 14th year as Credit Repair Resources. And I've really made myself a student of consumer credit and found myself having a passion for a subject matter that I never even knew about growing up. And I think that's part of the reason. When we grew up, there's no roadmap to having healthy credit. As a matter of fact, it's not until recent years that I have seen any real education for consumers. Banks and lenders make money off of interest rates, and the less we know about how to get the best, most favorable rates, the better it is for the banks and lenders. So I consider myself a student of credit, and we've done a lot of research over just since this whole thing has started, knowing that people have always come to me with questions regarding any subject matter regarding getting money and getting access to credit, that I knew that this would be a very important time for us. So we feel privileged at CRR. Credit Repair Resources is my company. Everybody that works for me has experience. So we're privileged to be able to bring our knowledge base at a time when everybody's going, what the heck? What are we doing with all this? And like you said before, Tiffany, there are so many moving parts, and it is moving very quickly. And it's just because we have to move quickly. It's this whole circumstance that we're all living under right now. You're at home, I'm at home right now. My employees are working remote. It's real time. And so I have been reading for days and weeks just on all of this stuff before it was released, and now it's released. And like you said, still changing. So what I've been doing for our partners is on each subject matter, just trying to bring the highlights. So I sent you earlier the deck that we did last week. I've got more stuff that I've been reading over the weekend and this morning. So, there can be questions that I can answer for you. I can kind of do a run back just of the highlights of what we did. But I think what's most important of everything that I've been reading, the one thing that anybody that's watching this or you talk to, Tiffany, the single biggest mistake I have ever seen, whether it's fixing a collection, getting a payment corrected, getting an answer from a bank, getting in touch with somebody at the utilities company. People don't write things down. People don't take screenshots. People aren't getting everything on record for every conversation they have. So all the stuff we'll talk about, I'll say this 3 times today. Write notes. Get names of the people that you're talking to. Get the employee identification number, the complaint number, whatever it is that we talk about today. When you are taking action and you are calling your banks, what was the date, right? And anything that happened, if they transfer you to another department, you want that person's name too, because notoriously and banks and oceans that they all live and breathe could have a set of protocols that other people just don't get that information. So you'll call back saying, I talked to Tiffany Hollinger regarding this collection and this number, and that. See, with have meticulous record, especially if it was a record keeping and note taking wasn't something that they did in the past. So of all the things we'll talk about today, that's the memorialize everything. Record the phone calls, download any emails, save everything you possibly can, because you will need it. So starting there, that I think is the importance of all these different areas. We've got the whole mortgage forbearance thing, right? And you had alluded to that. And I was reading this morning, and what's going on with that is interesting, because the carry people up to a year, right, to go and not make their mortgage payment. But there's 3 different scenarios on repayment that are available, even though they want you to give the most favorable. But now if you'll make the lump sum payment at the end of the forbearance, so you go 90 days without making a payment, and if your mortgage payment's $2,000 a month, now congratulations, you have an $8,000 bill waiting for you. If you were alive, or not alive, but if you were part of the mortgage meltdown the last time, mortgage modifications can be a nightmare, because the lenders in the process of restructuring a loan document and getting these terms changed, the third option is that what is the most favorable for the consumer is deferring that payment. So if you have exactly 10 years.
I'm gonna jump in for one. Hey, I'm gonna jump in for 1 second, because your mic was freezing a little bit. Technology. So forgive us all. We're working through this technology stuff. I heard clearly scenario 1, after 90 days, a lump sum, and that can be challenging. But I don't think I heard, you was about to go to number 3, so I don't think I heard option number 2.
So, okay, so option number 2 is a modification scenario. So the loan modification, right? So instead of some payment spread out, deferred over like an 18-month period. So if you miss 3 mortgage payments, right, and they're $2,000 a piece, that $6,000 is going to get broken up over a certain period of time in addition to your mortgage payment, which isn't horrible. But if you went through any loan modification nightmares in 2008 through 2011, when you're restructuring loan documentation, it can be a problem and a challenge, just tracking it all. The third option is which is the most favorable for the consumer, is to just defer those payments to the back end of the loan. So if I have exactly 10 years left on my loan, at the end of my deferment of 3 months, I now have 10 years, 3 months. So I can either refinance out and get rid of that, or just have 3 payments when we're done. There's a challenge to that. Okay, so everybody feels, well, why don't they just do that for everybody? Okay, as a bank and a lender, you have to think of what their thought process is. They have to buy new mortgages. They have to have cash flow. If they let everybody tack the payment on the back end of their loan, then what are they going to get their new money from? So they need these payments, like we need that help too. So what's to me is scary, because my David against Goliath is my partner and I. It's always our thought process. The banks are not going to do what's best for the consumer. They're going to do what's most fiscally responsible for their shareholders. So when you're going in, and that's where documenting, I started this, documenting everything. When you go in, if you talk to your first advocate and they're like, oh, we feel we'll be able to grant you the deferment, right? And mean tacking it on the end of the loan, we're like, great, awesome. You better have everything dotted and I'd and find out if that's a confirmation or just a preliminary decision. Because the last thing you want to do is feel like you're going to be deferred and then find out that, well, the underwriter that looked at your file feels you have what they call capacity to make that payment. So you can't qualify for that. And that's what's going to happen. If you have income coming in and they think they can get some blood from the turnip, they're going to take it. So it's every lender I'm talking to, because as soon as I get it, I send it, right? So if I get something from the CFPB or I get some really good data, I broadcast it to my partners. And some of my partners have come back and saying, Chad, you're not recommending that they go right for deferment. And I'm not. Anybody that's watching this, if you can make your payment, just make the payment. Don't even mess with it. Just keep your loan going as is and make the payment. If you need the help, it's there for us. But don't just go in and say, well, I'm going to take 3 months off my mortgage. I'm going to do some work in the house and redo the bathroom. And that's not what's going on right here. This is not what I recommend. And you have to be very, very, very careful with that. But it's an evolving situation. The federal government is no way going to mandate exactly how it needs to be done. They're going to recommend. But at the end of the day, you want to contact your servicer, your loan company, and find out. There's a couple things to also note about this, Tiffany. I don't know if you spoke about this while we're on mortgages.
Okay.
There's a difference between Bank of America servicing your loan and being the beneficiary of your loan. So just because Bank of America is servicing your loan and is offering deferment of that loan and advertising that you can pay it on the back end, doesn't mean that they're the beneficiary. So if they're just servicing that debt, right, the beneficiary, meaning the back end person that's getting the money for the payments received, their policy can be completely different. So you have to be very careful at identifying and doing the research before you make any decision. And of course, you can always call us and ask the questions, and we can walk you through that. But it's a sticky situation right now, and that's why I say if you can make it, don't even go down the road right now until you need it. So what are the things that you mentioned just for the audience to provide? Because I know we do this a lot. We talk in our terminology. Can you share with the audience what is CFPB, their role, and their significance to consumers? Yes, absolutely. So the CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And anybody watching this should write down consumerfinance.gov. Okay. So the CFPB back in 2010 under the Obama administration during the meltdown was approved to oversee Dodd-Frank. And those of you that don't know what Dodd-Frank is, that was the mortgage protection law that went in place after the meltdown. So that was their key job, and their key role was to oversee and make sure that it was being enforced through the banks properly and consumers were being protected. Fast forward 10 years to 2020, the CFPB is now basically the consumer watchdog for the nation. So all financial services, if it's a collection company, a credit reporting agency, even credit repair agencies, mortgage lenders, we all pretty much fall under this umbrella of the CFPB. If you've heard of the Federal Trade Commission or the FTC, this is basically their little brother. So the FTC goes over after major corporations and huge complaints. The CFPB is a more nimble entity. So instead of going to the Better Business Bureau, if you have a problem with your bank and complaining there, you can actually file a complaint at consumerfinance.gov. And then you can go ahead and they actually, not only can they process it like the Better Business Bureau to make sure you get an outcome, if they don't like the response or they've had consistent unfavorable responses against that collector or lender, they can take enforcement action. So nobody wants an email or a phone call or an alert from the CFPB. I promise you, if you're in any industry that's financial service. So, but to just kind of put a disclaimer there, a caveat, don't just go complain at the CFPB. You have to do your due diligence first, okay? Because you have to give them supporting documentation as to why you feel you've been wronged before they're even going to take it seriously with that company. So don't just say, well, I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm going to go and file a complaint like the BBB. You got to dot your I's and cross your T's. But it's an excellent resource. And actually, in the deck that I gave you, and we'll send out to everybody, that actually has like a bunch of different pages on their website so that you have resources available for all this. They're really on top of it right now.
Good. And so I like to midway always kind of just do a pause to provide information for people on how to contact us, because someone may have got it in the beginning and in the middle and not necessarily at the end. And so as always, everyone, if you have questions or want to follow up and don't want to put your questions publicly out here, you know, you can always reach me at AskTiffanyH@gmail.com. If you email me, I will make sure that you get a copy of the deck that Chad was talking about that goes over some of this information that we're reviewing today. And so you can actually have a hard copy of this information, as well as a way to additionally get in touch with Chad. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at ask_TiffanyH. So please make sure you do that. Chad, if you can provide your contact information as well before we go into the next section, so that if someone want to reach out to you and ask you additional questions as well.
Of course, thank you. So you can email me anytime at chad@crr760.com. So chad@crr760.com is my email. Our website, if you want information on us, is crr760.com. And the numbers to the office is 216-591-1000. So it's all pretty simple. And listen, email us. There's no obligation to use our services. We're here to help people. And that's how we get our business 13 years running. So if you just want to go over something or you want to review a conversation you had with the lender, that's our job, is to just make sure that you've got the resources you need, because we know when the time's right and you really need our help, we'll be here for you. So don't hesitate.
So, well, no, thank you for that. And so another question that we received along the way, and asked, because again, you are the credit expert. And I like to share that it's important when someone has a financial advisor to use your team of, well, like as a financial advisor, I will utilize a team of experts. They don't necessarily have to be mine. They could be my client's already existing attorney, accountant, or whatever. And a lot of times there's a lot of different methodologies and strategies how to get someplace. So there's more than one way to get from Cleveland to Chicago. By plane, train, automobile. You can, you know, so with that, there are times I'll give tips or whatever that says something because it can help them, but then as you as the expert, you may have a different outlook on it. And I appreciate that. Like you said, hey, if you have the money, go ahead and pay the mortgage, right? With that being said, can you speak a little bit about the value or the effectiveness of, one, calling the credit bureaus and asking them to not report on their credit report, and two, I was reading something about markings that go on a credit report that if we're in a national disaster or whatever, that's tagged so that they understand that during these moments in time, maybe this negative reporting was because of Katrina or now a COVID-19. So could you speak to those two elements?
Absolutely. So the credit report, actually the consumer reporting agencies, they're called actually, the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they've got a responsibility. They have to report the information that's being provided from the furnisher, meaning lender or creditor, collection company. As they get it, they're still required to report that information. So you can call them if you have an issue, let's say, because there's plenty of hackers still out there looking to steal our money and get access to our credit. So if you have an issue or you just don't want anybody to have access right now, you can call any one of the three consumer reporting agencies and put what's called an initial fraud alert on your credit report for up to a year. Meaning that anytime somebody applies for credit, if you go somewhere and apply, the store, well, not really a store right now, but the lender or bank, they'll be alerted that you have a fraud alert on your account, and you'll have to call the bank and answer security questions so that only you can access that credit. Okay, so you can still put the fraud alerts on there, and then you can do a total lockdown and freeze, but that's not really for today. But you can't really call them and say, please don't report my bad stuff, you know. But with that being said, as you mentioned, there is a code called, it's what they call a special comment code. Okay, so the special there for natural disasters, or as COVID-19 is providing this challenge over the next 4 months or so, it's a comment code, and it's AW. So we would never really see it if you're on Credit Karma, if you're going to any of these websites. You may not even see the comment code on there. You might see you'll see the actual comment, due to natural disaster or due to disaster. Mm-hmm. What the AW code does is a couple things. So this is really important to pay attention to, because from an underwriting perspective, let's say you do go delinquent on some loans right now, and there's no program to report you on time, like student loans right now. You don't make your student loans. You don't even have to call them. They're going to report everybody as on time right now. That's right. And take care of the back end. But your credit card's not going to be the same. Okay. Right. It's likely then they don't want it. They still want to make their money. That's why they're there. So the AW code, you have to make sure it is applied. So you'll see the comment part of disaster. So when you do go for loans after this scenario and you get back to on-time payments, an underwriter will be able to identify, okay, that makes sense. 2020, it was May 2020 through August. These payments were late, then they got caught up and there was an agreement made. It'll show there's an alignment, and your credit will consistently align with your application at that time. And you'll want to make a letter of explanation on it too. Here's what happened, so that the underwriter not only sees it on the report, but they're getting that letter from you. Right. From a credit scoring perspective, everybody needs to understand this, and I just was learning this last week. So people say, Chad, if the AW code is there, is it going to still affect my credit score? Right? So will my credit score drop if I go late because it's part of the natural disaster? It shouldn't. So there are two major companies that provide credit scores right now. One of them, most of us know, is FICO, the FICO Corporation. The other one is the Vantage Score Solutions. Vantage Score Solutions is a company that was created by the three bureaus, and it's their own separate scoring model. So if you log into Credit Karma or most consumer sites that you look at your credit on a monthly or weekly basis, under your credit score, it'll say you're viewing Vantage Score 3.0, or your score was calculated using Vantage Score 4.0. Whatever it is, they identify that, so you understand what that is. Mm-hmm. When a lender pulls your credit, 90% of the time it's going to be through a FICO model, Fair Isaac Corporation, right? So two different companies entirely. Mm-hmm. Under the Vantage Score models, that AW comment code actually will bypass that account from your credit score. So if it has the comment code on there and you look at your Credit Karma, you might be like, oh, I'm still 730. Sweet. And then you call your lender because you want to apply for a refinance, and they see that you're at 610, and you're going to freak out. Okay. You have to understand that FICO is not considering AW in the credit scoring model. They're just going to allow it there as a comment. It's not going to bypass it from your credit score. Okay. So it's something that I want, especially there's always been confusion of people saying my score was higher on Credit Karma versus what the lender pulled. But this disparity is going to be even bigger now, because you're going to look and think that you're doing great, and then you're going to apply for a refi, and that could be a problem. So hopefully that helps.
Right. It does, and thank you. And sometimes I like to just reiterate some things to kind of just put it a little in layman's term. And while we run out, well, not while we run it, but we utilize tools such as Credit Karma to give us an indication of what our credit reporting activities look like, and we may pay for particular credit scores. Please know that those are what is considered retail credit scores and reporting, because mortgage companies pull a certain model of information of what they're looking for into making their determination to finance you. And that model is different than if you go and try to finance a car. A car industry is looking for a different model. And so while it's the same data, the information that's on your credit reporting report, the models are different as to what they're looking for. Again, if you're looking for a credit card, its model is different. And so it's important to not get caught up and hung up on, oh, is my credit score this on Credit Karma, or my credit score is, it's more important to make sure that the substance of the reporting is accurate on the report. The scores are really just models that's needed for different industries. And so if you're looking at the details and you see something is wrong, you want to address it. So it's important to make sure once a year you pull a copy of your credit report to make sure that it's accurate, there's no misinformation, things are, okay. So
to add to that, a couple things. One is, in today with identity theft, I recommend checking it at least once a month. I recommend everybody having a Karma account, and I check my every week. I'm looking and I refresh my reports, because you don't know when something hits. And it's, it's like right now I check my temperature, 10 times a day. And after I'm feeling better for a while, I might check it every day, once a day. Like right now I feel great, and I've been in the house for over a week without going anywhere. So I've lowered it, but I start to feel sick or anything like that, I'm looking at it. So right now it's really important that you check it more. But another great resource is, because you had mentioned, Tiffany, there's so many different scoring models based on the type of loan you're going for. There's credit card score, auto scores, you have generic scores, you have mortgage scores. Right. MyFICO.com is MyFICO.com. MyFICO.com actually gives you access to all of them, including your mortgage credit score. Okay, so if you get to the point of like, okay, I'm 3 months into this, I need to get a new car, and I want to see what my car score looks like, or I want to get a mortgage, it's a great resource. The challenge is it's a $40 a month subscription, or it's $60 for one 3-bureau report. But you won't get these insights anywhere. The only other way you get them is through a hard inquiry through a lender. So having it at your resource, using a Karma or whatever subscription like Identity IQ is awesome. And I can send out that link as well. It's got a $1 trial for 7 days to see all 3 scores and reports, very detailed. And I don't want to go too deep, but everybody who has a Credit Karma account knows you only get 2 of the 3 credit reporting agencies, right? You don't get your Experian. Why we use Identity IQ is because it's still affordable and it gives us all 3. Okay. But at the end of the day, when you're ready for any type of application, I recommend everybody spend that money. Even if you buy one of the 3, it's at least going to let you see where you're at in that range, because the pricing that we're going to pay for money after this is over is going to go up exponentially. Our scores are going to be more important than they've ever been. And so you want to make sure you're being very proactive in how you're doing that. So I just wanted to kind of dovetail that with that extra with MyFICO.
At the end of the day, that's the moral of the story, is to make sure that while it's rocky out here, we are doing the things that we can, that are within our control, to be able to weather this and still be okay, and not let it, as best we can, take us under. One question that came up, and why we talked about there's 3 types of ways that we can adjust the mortgage. What we didn't really say is, how does it impact the score, if at all?
So what you're going to see, and I don't know how the modification is going to go. See, but loan modifications in the last crisis we had, most lenders required you to go into basically pre-foreclosure, right, 90 days delinquent, before they'd even consider the modification. Okay. I don't see that happening this time, because the two very, very big differences between this situation and the last one, most people got themselves into the last one. Most people wanted to make mansion. Oh, well, you're going to give me 100% financing on a $600,000 house when I make $70,000 a year. Well, if you say it's okay, it must be okay, right? And then as soon as they couldn't make their payments, they were like choking on it, and then they wanted help from the banks. So the banks were trying to force that consumer to crush their credit in order to get help. This is a completely different scenario. So it's going to be likely that most lenders are going to do their best to keep people reporting on time, for a couple of reasons. One is they want to be able to help, and they don't want the federal government saying, why are you reporting these people late? You're supposed to be helping right now. 2 is they also want you to have the ability, let's say you do have an issue where you need to refinance your mortgage 6 months later. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to refinance your property. A lot of people went from, and this is opinion at this time, but a lot of people went from 30s to 15-year mortgages when rates have been so low, which banks make a lot less money, right? I mean, the interest that you pay is exponential when you have a 30 versus a 15. So they'll probably see a lot of people wanting to just re-amortize back out to a 30 And in order to do that, you're going to have a decent credit score. So I think on a majority basis, most lenders are going to continue to report us on time or at least make it favorable. But again, for my statement that I opened this with, and I'm going to tell everybody my new mantra, write it down, remember it, take a picture, record it, have everything memorialized for every answer you get. If it's, and I don't want to be a jerk, but if you don't have the answer when they ask who did you talk to, or when did this happen, or what email do you have, and you're like, I don't remember, that's your fault. And that's what banks are not. Don't count on the banks to make the notes for you. And I'll keep saying that throughout this. If everybody's joining on, remember it and make sure you memorialize everything. So.
Good stuff. So as we kind of get ready to wrap up a little bit, if someone or people out there, if you have any questions, there has been some questions coming in, so thank you very much. But if you have any questions that you would like to ask Chad or myself as we begin to kind of just wrap up a little bit, please do type them out here. As always, I share with people, this just evolved. I did not say, oh, let me come out here again, just seeing so much information and things that was going on. I just kind of started providing information sessions and one led into another. But it's important to get the information out. So please ensure to like, comment, and share. The power of that is it allows to have a much broader reach to a lot of people who maybe, you know, they're at home and they're with the kids and they're, you know, preparing for lunch and they couldn't tune in or check in, but this information can be very helpful to them. And so, again, if you have any questions, please do put them out here. You know, we can ask Chad. Again, you can follow up with myself at AskTiffanyH at gmail.com, AskTiffanyH@gmail.com. Please go out and follow me at ask_TiffanyH and Instagram and Twitter. And Chad, we're going to ask some more questions, but Chad, could you provide your contact information as well?
Sure. So any questions you have, you can email me at CRR760. That's Romeo.com. Online at CRR760.com. And the number to the office is 216-591-1000. Thanks to technology, even the remote workers. Extensions, if you want to get that. I see a question down here, and there's a couple things, Tiffany, if you don't mind.
Before you move on, because you were breaking up a little bit. So and I don't know if I was breaking up, so I'm going to provide Chad's email is chad@crr760.com. Again, chad@crr760.com. And so you can reach him there. We're just breaking up a little bit as you was coming in. But yes, there's a question there on the screen.
So I see, how does deferring the mortgage payment affect your score? I think we kind of covered that. Yeah, that's an evolving one. Is this a good time to use credit? So I had a couple things that I read that it really kind of hit home. It's time for, if you have credit and you have a good credit score and you have a good banking relationship, call your bank, ask them now to increase your credit. A lot of banks are closing down credit, so in doing that, but to have access, and if you're really showing that you're in a solid position right now, it's your best opportunity to say, hey, listen, you know, I'm running a small business, or hey, listen, I've maintained my credit, I have reserves with you, I just want to make sure that I'm getting maximum points, I want to make sure everything's going on my credit cards. Ask for the increases now before anything potentially happens to you. If you're going to use your credit, use it for the right reasons. You know, something that I read that was really poignant was, you know, it's time to reimagine what you do for a living. So like, I'm self-employed right now and I own a credit repair company. And I know that plenty of people have always and will continue to come to me for credit repair. However, I know because there are so many compartments now, or departments between student loans and mortgages and what to do with my credit, we're working on just creating small mini programs for people that don't need necessarily credit repair. So we're reimagining how we're doing things internally to be able to offer a different range of products so that we can continue to get revenue, but help consumers as they need to now. So whatever you're doing, step back, get a whiteboard and write it down. So if you are going to spend money, spend it in the right places. Reinvest in your technology. If you don't have great webcams for all of your employees and you don't have, good internet access, at max levels, if all of your employees' computers aren't as fast as they could possibly be, that's where I would be spending my money right now, into the resources for you to make sure that this is done. I mean, listen, if frivolous or not, I had to, I've been sequestered to my basement, not for health, but because my kids have the rest of the house, right? So I went and bought a TV so that I now feel like I'm not living in a bubble in my basement. And to me, that was a worthwhile investment. Frivolous, right. But I've still got one that was an open box, right? But my point is, I'm still moving forward. My new website is being developed so that it's more interactive. And so that's where I'd be spending my money on credit if you're going to be doing anything right now.
Okay. Thank you. And again, I just want to kind of wrap up, and this will answer a little bit of the question that's on the bottom of the screen. Chad and his team assist people with restoring and repairing their credit, not necessarily a lender or more, even though he has background and experience in that industry. What he does is sit down with individuals to help them improve or repair some of the credit challenges that they have. And again, it's not the multi-level marketing, just come and dispute things and, gimmicks or, shenanigans or whatever. It is, I have my own take on that, but, he sits down and have worked with Chad before with my clients. He's done some workshops with me as a realtor, trying to prepare people to get ready to buy a house. And so he's worked with my clients there. And it is a process. And I will have to say, like anything else, it's not cookie cutter. It's not I come in here and I pay $2 or whatever, and now I have this perfect credit. You will have to put in the work. If you got the credit dismantled over a period of time, it's not going to be fixed in an instant of time. So
we provide an advocate. So when you work with us, I'm not just going to say, here, we're going to dispute your credit, call us in 90 days. We actually provide you an advocate that is your coach. It is your aggressor to the companies that say that you owe their money. So we have a process of verifying and validating data over a 3 to 6 month period based on how my partner has practiced consumer law for 25 years. So there are bad actors, Tiffany, and I'm glad that you pointed that out. When you be very careful of anything that you're seeing about, protect your credit, get a new credit profile or whatever. That's a completely different call that we can have. But when you're going to use somebody's services, make sure you're doing your due diligence of who you're working with, what are their qualifications. I'm happy to roll out my scrolls and what we know in credit, but it's important to understand that there's a lot of people out there that'll take your money and make claims when you're in this industry. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
And so, yes, thank you. And so everyone, I'm going to make a plea for your help, because I know we are social distancing and I know times are different. And, we're doing streams of DJ services and comedians and all this. And so this might not be so glitz and glam, and this might not be so fun, but it is definitely needed. And if nothing else, I always have this motto that it's my responsibility to make sure that I leave people and places better than how I found them. And so I would be remiss if I didn't take these opportunities to try to provide tools to help the people that I know, people that I don't know, or provide services to help. So please, please, please like, comment, and share. So this can really go out. If you know people who are talking about certain topics of this or anything related to finances or buying a house, please share this with them and have them get in touch with me, have them get in touch with Chad. We're not here just because we're like, oh, just come and, so we can do our services. We're really here to provide information and tools and tips to help sustain. And we're both small business owners. And so unlike Bank of America and the rest of them, they'll probably weather through this. We are relying on being able to provide help and assistance. And in return, we're still looking for people to help and provide assistance to us as well. And so be sure to check in with us, as I'll be doing more information sessions from here out. If you want a copy of the deck that Chad has been talking about, please just shoot me an email or message me. I'm always apropos about the direct message thing, but message me in this world of technology, and I'll make sure that we get that information out there to you all. And so at that time, Chad can talk with you one-on-one to what his fee and his costs are, because I don't think that is cookie cutter. I think it's tailored, which is a good thing, as well as if you get in touch with me and we sit down and we talk about financial planning and we talk about tools and strategies to help weather this. It's not a cookie cutter process. It's very tailored. And so I thank everyone. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with myself or with Chad. We'll get this information out. It's sunny here in Cleveland, so get out in the backyard, walk, maintain your social distancing, wash your hands, Lysol wipes, and all of that. And thank you for your time, Chad. Thank you for joining me and giving me 45 or hour of your time today and provide information and tools. Everyone have a wonderful day, and don't forget, AskTiffanyH.
Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Bye, everyone.